Well, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here and listening to the story of baskets. The basket is so important because in Native American life, children were put in baby baskets, but the first basket they received doesn't have any symbol if it's a boy or a girl or pink or blue. And so the grandmother will wait until the baby is born and then give the baby gifts. And then if it's a little girl, then the design on the basket will have a zigzag like this. See the zigzag on it? That means it's a little girl. And then if it's a boy, then it's just one straight diagonal design, meaning a little boy. But the baskets that I learned from the baskets I learned from my husband's grandmother, who was a Yosemite, 100% Yosemite Indian Miwok Paiute. And I went there after I graduated from the Indian boarding school at the age of just a young girl. I lost my parents, and so the welfare or whatever it is, people didn't know where to put us until someone said, "Well, why don't you try the Indian school in Stewart, Nevada?" So they contacted them, and they said, "Yeah, bring those kids in here. We'll take care of them." So I spent 5 years there at the Indian boarding school, learning how to do everything but make basket. And the time that I liked baskets is when I thought about my husband's grandmother, who was a great basket weaver, Lucy Tellis Parker, and she came from Yosemite National Park. And so when I graduated from the school, the Indian school, then I had to go somewhere, and someone said, "Well, why don't you follow me?" My husband's cousin was my good friend, and she said, "Why don't you follow me and go with me, and my grandmother will take care of you too." And so I did. So I spent from the age of 18 till I'm 95 at the Indian school learning about the different types of baskets that you see in front of us. There are many kinds of baskets and many types of weavers. And the thing about the basket is that it comes from the earth, and it likes to have its feet, her feet in water. So she likes to live near the water. So the willow is like I say, a very important plant. And you can see in front of us the different styles of baskets that we have here and the different material. We have some material over there, which is new material, which a lot of the weavers today want to use the newer fiber because it's more easier to handle. See, you have to know the rules too about making your basket. You do prayer, song, and dance. And we'll give you a little song here. This is our singing stick. And when I went to Indian school, I was a drummer. I was a snare drummer. So this was real handy here like this. So let's see if we can give you a nice, and when I sing, you got to all stand up and dance. Oh, okay. Then that song that I learned, one of the songs that I learned was, let's see, I have to go back and think about the song that I'd like to give to you. Highland Alpha, Highland Alpha, Highland, Highland, Highland Alpha, Highland Alpha, Highland Alpha, Highland Alpha, Highland, Highland, Highland Alpha. Yo, yo, ole, yo, yo, ole. Highland Alpha, Highland Alpha, Highland, Highland, Highland Alpha. Yo, oh, oh. I didn't see anybody dancing. Oh. Well, the excuse me, I have this little allergy that comes on once in a while, and so with the education that I have, I always wanted to become a doctor. My foster mother was was a nurse, and I always wanted to become a nurse. And later on in life, my title today is Dr. Julia Lawrence Parker, PhD. So I finally got to the point where, that's not important. It's where your heart is and what you like to do. Some of you may like to cook, which I don't like to cook. So my daughter here is a very good cook, but we did have to learn how to cook in a basket. Her great grandmother would boil her food in a basket. And you think, well, why use the basket? Well, the baskets are made from the willows, and the willows have a lot of water in them, and you have to gather everything at the right time. And one of the rules is that you're not to be with child, because every time you pick your tulip and you poke in a basket, it's like poking your child. And then another rule, which is real secretive, you stay on your side of the room, and your husband stays on the other. And you have to, these are just rules that were given to us. And so you have to be clean. And she gave me a picture of my husband right here, and Ralph Lewis Parker. And that's how I became a Parker. You can hold the picture. And he'd always say to me in the morning, Julia, now what the hell are you going to do? And we lived by the creek there in Mid Pines, California. And so I like to go down and I like to give thanks to the water and to the plants that are all around us. And then I, try to start my day out on the right foot. So anyway, traveling along there, like I said, when I went to the Indian boarding school, you'd think that they're going to teach you Indian ways. No, they didn't want you to be Indian. And for a long time, a lot of people didn't want to be Indian. And so I never paid attention to it, what other people like to do, because who was I to say you should do this and you should do that, and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And so anyway, traveling on to the Indian boarding school, then graduated, and my husband's cousin was my best friend. And then she said, Julia, she said, as we graduated and standing there around, how you graduate and everyone talks to each other. Oh, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And so she's talking to me, and she said, "Well, Julia," she said, "what are you going to do now?" And I said, "Well, this school here has been my home for 5 years." And I said, "I really don't know what I'm going to do." And then she said, "How about coming along with me?" And I said, "Okay." She said, "My grandmother will take care of you, and until till you can feel like you can take care of yourself." And so I was always kind of a timid kind of a person. I didn't like to talk too much. And of course now I'm talking like heck here. But anyway, when you look at when you look on these baskets, they're just like us almost. They are like us because they start in a little tiny circle like that. And then you go around and around, and then you put a design in your basket. And then after a while, you get to be good friends with this, and you say, "Thank you, thank you." And so when you feel the plant, it's just like me touching soft skin, And so the first basket that I made, as I can remember now, is when I was in with my foster mother. And so the very first basket I made with raffia. How many of you know what raffia is? Okay, well, the colors I chose are red and green. And so I made that little basket. And then the ladies told me, now, the first basket you make, you have to give away. And so I wanted to really follow the rules of the old way, so I did. I gave it away. So you might find that little red and green basket in some store around here. So every secondhand store, I look around for a basket, and we did, and we found a basket. Where's that basket we found?
This one?
Oh, we found this one.
Yeah.
Lucy found this. This is
Paiute.
it's a Paiute basket. And so you can see how old it is, and you can see how it has a design on top, meaning zigzag, meaning a little girl. And then if it was a boy, it would be just a straight design, diagonal design on it. So baskets tell stories, and so one of the first baskets that I learned about was as watching my husband's grandmother, and she was busy, and I like to help the older ladies, So I was over there helping her, and she said, "Today, Julia, we're going to boil acorn in a basket." And I looked at her, and I just didn't say hi, why, what, where, when. And so I watched her, and so she said, "We have to wait for the acorns to come to us." And in the Indian village there, we had a lot of oak trees. And she says, "But the thing is, don't look up at the tree. You'll scare the acorns away." So I, tried to do what they wanted me to do. And so one fall, the acorns really came to us. And she said, "Well," she said, "we have to start collecting acorns, and you need a basket." And cone-shaped basket, we don't have our cone-shaped basket. That one got left home with on the shelf there because it didn't like to travel around. And so anyway, she said, "Now the first acorns that fall, they're not good," she said, "because they're the food for the animals. Everybody has to have something to eat. So the first ones that fall, you just leave them there. And then the second dropping that comes, then it's time for you to collect. And like I say, you have to have special rules and about collecting the acorns. And so the little acorn then, when it's ready, it's I don't think I think my little acorn in my other pocket. But anyway, the acorn was one of the main food of the people there in Yosemite National Park. A lot of acorn trees there. And so at first, the authorities didn't want the Indians to be picking up or, taking anything like that, the plants or the roots or food. And so we had to kind of hide under the bush and pick the acorns without anyone watching us. And so the little acorn then would become food for us. And what we'd have to do is like wait for the right time and do our prayers and songs and dances and be clean as we pick this little acorn up. And then the acorn then has to be cracked open. So I watched the grandmother carry her large cone-shaped basket on her back. And she'd had a certain way that she could kneel down to the ground and that basket would just roll right over her shoulders and down to the ground where she could put the acorns in the basket. And so by following her and watching what she did, then I learned to respect that little acorn. And when you see the food boiling in a basket, you think, how in the world does that basket hold that food? Well, we know that the willow sticks that we have here, like in this basket, they're dry, and then when they get full of water, then they expand. And so that basket, before we ever use it, we have to scrub it out and clean it. And we had a brush, and I guess I left my brush at home. And anyway, clean the basket out, and then you soak it in water, and then all the fibers will expand. And so sure, it's not gonna hold water because we don't need a basket to hold water. We just need a basket to hold things that are like the acorn soup or the acorn mush. And so the basket then, as I watched her, she said, we're going to soak this basket in water. And I didn't say how, why, or where. I just listened to her. And so she soaked that basket, and she had a little brush. And my brush, I guess, oh dear, I left that one at home too. We were in kind of a hurry saying, oh, Mom, hurry up, you're so slow. Can't help it, Grandma. 95-year-old lady can't move around that fast. But anyway, you scrub it out and clean it. And so you have a basket for your food, you have a basket to carry your baby in, and you have a basket for collecting. And then you have what you call a giveaway basket. In other words, you're trading and we're giving away. Same difference when you think about it. And no, we didn't have.
We have, I don't know where it went. We have one, but I'm not sure where it went.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I'm gonna just pause here and I have a little bit hard time hearing. So any questions?
Would you talk about the individual baskets, Julia? Maybe hold each one up and talk about it.
I want you to talk about one of the baskets,
So,
the one of the baskets, how it's put together.
Or each
the basket, how it's put together. Well, there's each one of us now, we have a way of using a tool. May I?
Mhm.
See, this is her tool, and I can't pick it up unless I get permission from her. And this is tool is made out of the front leg of a deer. My husband was a hunter, and she always brought home the deer meat, and I always look for the legs and clean it off, and then he'd sit there by the hour and crack it and hit it a certain way, and then it would come out to a little broad piece, and then he'd sit there and he would take and he would rub it on a rock until it was nice and smooth like that. Then it became a bow and all. And so we used that, but that's hers. And so it's, it's the rule that you have all your own tools, your own self. And so she said, well, Mom, she said, you take your tools, because she said, you're going to be using my tools. And so anyway, with living in there in Yosemite Valley for, like I say, age of 18 till I'm 95. So I lived all those years in that valley and learned everything about the people there. And the people there were Miwok and Paiute people. And I was different because I wasn't a mountain lady. I was a water lady because I came from near San Francisco area. But then I ended up being a mountain lady. But anyway, stop and pause here and see if any of you have any questions. Okay.
What are these baskets here used for that are on the table? How do you use these baskets that are on the table, like this one here?
Okay.
Is that just a gathering one?
How do you use the baskets, the different
Okay.
styles on the
All right,
table?
we have like that. She wanted to know about that big basket.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where you can put your acorns in that big basket. You see?
And you boil it in this?
No,
No.
that would be a tight one.
And so the acorns can go in that basket. And then our cooking basket, I left that one at home. And the cooking basket measures about 10 inches across and about 10 inches high. And it's made out of willow. And like I said, willow loves water. And so it swells up. And then when you boil it, you're using hot stones. You use a special stone, a volcanic stone that when it gets in the fire, it gets red hot and it won't snap or break, because granite, like we have up there in Yosemite, a lot of granite rock will break because it has moisture in it. So you have to really, know all about these little things that you wouldn't, think could matter, but it matters. And most of the time it feels you feel in your heart, this basket, and it's not my basket, it's our basket, our family basket. And so a lot of the big baskets that we have, big baby cradle that the mother and grandmother made, well, I feel that's, so cherished because nobody makes them anymore. So we just leave that at home because people like to feel things. And I think I better leave that one at home. So that one's sitting up in a corner there, looking at us all the day long, And so I'm going to stop here. Any questions?
I'm just wondering, say when you were having a meal like fish and whatever, what would you serve? What would you eat that on? What, do you have special plates to eat, put the food on and eat from?
When you were making the food, do you have a special place that you would put the food on?
Oh, on the basket?
Yeah,
Put in like a little bowl, like a
like
little,
a bowl
well,
or a
Would it be
platter.
a bowl that
grandmother
you would-
can make you little tiny bowls like this. And this is your plate or your little bowl
Plate.
for your acorn mush.
Mhm.
And so then you could drink, you make the acorn mush so that it's like a drink, so you can drink it up. And then also grandmother always showed us how she made jelly rolls with the acorn. Because see, the acorn has a lot of protein, and so it'll gel. And so when we boil the acorn and then they drop it into, and you have a basket, oh, about like this, and then you soak the basket in water and then dip it into the basket that has the acorn mush in it, and then pull it up and then very gradually dip it in so you get a nice jelly roll. The basket just the acorn just rolls off the basket. I just, like I say, living there and seeing all this being done, I never thought I'd be talking about it or even using a basket, you know. So I've used the baby cradle, and the baby cradle, like it has that, like I mentioned, the design on it. And then you have this one here is a little beginning weaver basket. Ladies learning how to shape the basket and not necessarily count sticks. No, you just look at the sticks, and then you just, as long as they fit in it, that's what you want. Because if you sit there and start counting the sticks in the basket, you're gonna forget where you are. And then when you look at the willow stick, I didn't, well, here's a little willow stick. And see, this one is big at the bottom. And then as you weave it, then see, it turns like that. And so you really don't have to force it to get to shape. The shape is followed by the stick that you put in it. So anyway, this is a nice little girl's basket. And she goes with her grandmother and she watches. And you notice the color. It has a nice deep color. That is the California redbud. And the redbud, how many of you know what the redbud looks like? When you go to Yosemite Valley, when you go along the river road in the springtime, that river road is just full of this beautiful pink bush, which is a redbud. So I like to look at it, and I don't pick it. I just look at it. But then after a while, it'll have, because it has to have its day. We all have to have our day. So you watch the willow, the redbud, as it grows, and then it'll grow into a nice stick, and then the leaves will come out and drop off. And then you wait, and the color of the redbud always depends on where the feet are. So when the feet are in sandy soil, the redbud isn't as dark because it's not drinking up there's not enough, a lot of what you call iron oxide in the sand. So I was talking to one of my friends, and I said, "Your redbud is so red," and she says, "Well, it's because it has its feet in soil. So the soil and the climate, everything makes a difference about the basket, the materials in your basket." So anyway, California redbud, Cirrus occidentalis, which is a nice red color. You can see how you can put circle basket and a stick basket. And of course, the stick basket was made before the circle basket because your sticks are nice and straight. And so you learn how to shape that, or how to lay these sticks in there so that they'll, like the cone shape. I love to make the cone shape basket because that to me is the easiest one to make. So you start at a point and you put your sticks in there like that, and then you follow the stick itself. Your hands aren't guarding it, it's the stick. So like, as we look at this basket, you can see how it sticks in there. Then you just pull hard on. Now you don't want to pull hard. You just make it firm. And then after a while, it'll turn like this. See? And so it has sticks at the bottom there. You can see that. And then you don't measure the sticks. You just look at it. And if it looks good, I guess that's all right. You know. And so that's why each one of the baskets and the basket makers are different. See how it balances? It's beautiful. See? Isn't that something how you can make a tool that's like that with your hands? But it's the wood that you're using that is controlling it. So anyway, we'll do this all day and then we'll go home. But anyway, any more questions?
Do you ever use bark, say the madrone? I don't know if you have madrone up in Yosemite, but you know how the bark peels off the madrone? Do you ever use bark as well as, sticks? Do you, bark versus the wood?
Do we ever use bark, like bark
Yeah.
to weave with, any bark off of?
Well, the
wood?
bark, yeah. This is redbud without the bark. And so the reason the bark comes off is because in the springtime, it's getting the moisture. And so when it gets the moisture and you want to have white sticks, you collect it then because you can peel that bark off of it. And then you can take that bark and keep it, and you can use it for color in your smaller baskets, like this one here. And when you put your design in a basket, that's what I had to think, how in the world they get design in a basket? And I says, look what I came out with. And so the thing is that you look at the basket and you can start with 4 directions: north, east, south, and west. And then as you weave around it, then when you come to the one point, then you add a point on each side. So right there, another point, it's a matter of just balancing. And then of course, you're doing this by hand. So your fibers and your sticks you're using aren't really measured. It's just all done. Although some of the ladies, when the baking powder tin can came in, they make holes in the tin can, they pull it through. And so you get a nice measure, but that's to me, that's kind of wasteful, because when the stick comes out, it's just not smooth like we want it. So I don't use that. I just try to do it by hand. But anyway, any other questions?
Can you talk a little bit about how you create the design and how you uncover that while you're working on it?
Oh, how you make the design?
Yeah.
Yeah, how you get the points and the squares.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm. Okay, now there's 2 ways to weave. And Lucy does a straight stitch. And in a straight stitch basket, you can only get squares and oblongs. And because she's pointing her needle to the side, here's the stitch. She points it here. And then when I make a basket, I like to put design in it. Like you see in this one, then my needle goes to the left and I go underneath that stitch. And then that way I can get 1 point. And then when you come around, then you just follow the design. If you want to have a point, and you put 1 one stitch, the next one 2, then you go 4, and then you keep adding stitches until you can get your nice diamond shape. And then Lucy she has her way of weaving, and that's another nice, easy way. And it's not easy, but it's a nice way to set together a basket. And she's made some nice baskets too. Okay. Any other questions? Judy? Back down there. Lily?
When you're going around and teaching people, what do you hope the people you're sharing with and teaching do with knowing how to make a basket or knowing about these baskets?
I didn't quite hear because I have a hard time hearing, so.
When you're going, to workshops and you're teaching about basketry and materials, what do you think, what's the most important that you hope the students go home with?
What's the most important thing for what?
For the students, after they're learning the basketry and then
when you're
you're
learning-
teaching them, and then
Okay,
what would you think they would,
Okay,
you would
well-
like them to feel like or do?
the thing, well, the most important part that the students, well, you can tell me what you like to do about the basket. Because some of us don't like to dig around in the ground, because you have to get down on your hands and knees and just sit right straight, flat on the ground, and then you can get your fibers. A lot of the ladies stoop over, and I said, sit down on the ground because you're going to get tired. And they look at me because they don't want to sit on the ground, and so they end up sitting on the ground without realizing it, and they're sitting on the ground and they're just cutting your willows, or you're digging around, and you have digging stick too, which you dig the soil and move the soil around, and then you see the roots. And so the rule is that only mother and daughter can collect together, because here's the plant over here and here's the other plant. And so she'll find a plant root and I'll find a plant root, and then we'll be pulling against each other. So you have to be spaced. They space you, the older lady, where you sit here and your roots will be like this and you sit over here, but if you want to sit close together and help each other, you can do that too. Any other questions?
I just wanted to ask you, what is the life expectancy of these baskets?
What's the life expectancy of a basket? A basket can live forever. But if you have your cooking basket and you forget to stir the hot rock on the bottom of the basket, what happens? You get a hole in it. So when you cook, it's just like you're cooking, cooking oatmeal this morning, cooking the oatmeal on the stove. You got to keep stirring it around. If you don't, it'll get stuck. What happens. So you have to just treat that basket like you do the pot like you do your pots in the kitchen, with careful, and there's a lot of little things about the basket that always intrigued me, but the main thing was watching those ladies put those hot rocks in that basket and push it around, and they have tools. All their tools are made out of willow, and they have a loop stick, which is to push the rock around the basket. And Lucy likes to cook in the basket, and I have another granddaughter who just loves to cook. And like I say, I don't like to cook. So, anyway, Any more questions, Lucy?
Just one more. I was wondering, since you are giving this information generally to us who are not really belong to your tribe, how do you see, is your tribe will keep these customs alive? Do you see the next generation is taking on making baskets and it's gonna be continued in the future, or your generation may be the last one? How do you feel about this?
Just, how do you feel about, with your tribe, that the next generation is gonna carry it on? Or
Well,
or they're not going to, or is it gonna?
right here. And
We don't have Ursula for the next
we
generation.
have, we have 4 generations of Parker women. So by the time we get down to the youngest, she may not make basket, but she can write, and she can write a book about the story of Julia Parker or Lucy Parker or little Tweety. We all have Indian names. Little Tweety is little bird who follows, and she always followed me around. And I have a name that was given to me, and I'm called Huina, which means peace and quiet, which I don't like to. But I had to learn to talk. And I remember in public school, the only thing that I could not do was speak. Excuse me, because I felt I had nothing to talk about. And so my foster mother said, well, she said, do you like poems? I said, yes. Well, when you do oral report, say a poem. So I thought, what poem could I use? Then I thought about the poem Trees. You know the poem Trees?
Right.
I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make the tree. So that always got me a pretty good grade in oral report. Now, even now, it's, just
We give you an A.
question.
Nancy?
Yeah, a question. I'd heard that there was a tradition that baskets were buried with the basket maker and in times past. Is that,
Mabel and Essie.
yeah,
Yeah,
talk about that?
about the basket makers, when they passed on, their basketry was with them.
Okay, yes, that's one of the rules, that if I were to pass on, the old rule is to put the baskets with me or do a burn. Yeah, burn, a day to burn these things, because that belongs to them, and but now, with my daughter interested in granddaughter and great grandgirl, then they'll be here. I mean, they'll look at you and say, don't forget your mom, your grandmother, your great grandma. Okay, any other?
Any other questions?
Are all of these pomo glass baskets?
Good question.
Are all of these baskets pomo style?
No, see, like, we talk, like she said, Pomo style, Miwok style, Paiute style, Julia Parker style. And so I can say, this is my basket. See, and so I'm a mixture of Paiute a mixture of Spanish and Indian Coast Miwok. And so this is my basket. It's not a Pomo basket, or it's just my basket, Julia Parker basket. I have a basket that sits over, that was given to the Queen of England, and it sits over there in her collection. And I've had students come by and tell me, "Oh, we saw your basket over there," and I said, "My basket." And they said, "Yeah, it was sitting in a collection of the Queen Elizabeth." So I don't think I'll ever get there. But to know that the baskets have traveled all over the world. They're gift baskets, just like you have gift baskets for Christmas time. Same thing. We can fill the basket full of different things, and it'll be a nice gift basket. Okay, anything else?
One more question about acorns.
That's all right. We're here to answer questions.
Okay, about acorns, how many different forms of acorn are there in terms of how you eat? There's that gel.
Mush.
A mush. I mean, do you make bread?
Flour.
How many different ways we can make the acorns, like,
Okay.
soup or mush?
Okay, the acorn, first of all, you gotta shell and clean them, take the skin off, and then and I use the old way. I have a rock, and I hit it, like pick the rock, straddle it, the hole, and then with the acorn in the middle of the hole, just not a deep depression, just a very shallow. And the acorn is sitting there, and I just lift it up and let it drop. And then as it drops, it's just like a machine. The rock hits the acorns, and then as it gets fine, it all comes out on the bottom. It's something to watch how that flour gets made. And then when you have your basket, you have a basket that's something like this, yeah. And you put the flour on a basket and you shake, 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 shake. It's like a sifter, but the flour stays on the basket. It doesn't go through the basket. So the basket's pretty strong, pretty powerful. This one here can use 3 sticks in your basket, and you get a ridge. See how the ridge is? And then you can use 1 stick, and it's just straight like that. And then, like I say, there's different ways when you use your awl, where you poke it this way or poke it that way, either to the right or to the left. Depends on how you hold your tools too in your hands. And we're told that, you don't want to sit there and weave hour by hour. You got to stop and rest. You got to rest. You got to take a 10-minute break. Get up and drink a cup of tea or walk around or rest. Because without realizing it, you're using a lot of energy into even holding this basket, let alone to hold it like this and like that. See, Lucy, her stitches are straight stitches, and then my stitches are stitches that, see the design you can get in there. And when you make a design, of course, you start in a circle and you go north, east, south, and west. And you come around. When you have the 1 stitch, you put 2 stitches, 1 on each side, all the way here, all the way. And then next thing you know, they're going to meet, like this one here. So you can see that how they meet. And it's because you're bringing your stitches on both sides of that point, and then that brings that zigzag in it. That's how I do it.
And then the different types of acorn, what can you
Okay.
make with that?
Okay,
The
for the
mush or the
for
ooleh?
the acorn, yeah. Okay, when you see the acorn, as we know, is very bitter, and so the only way of taking the bitterness out of the acorn is water, and so you have to have soil. And up there in Yosemite, there's a lot of sandy soil, so you build up a pile of sand, and then you level it off. You could take I used to watch the ladies take a pie tin and fill it full of water and then rub it all around to make sure that the water is going to be even in that little circle. And then you have to have something to break the fall of the water, because if you pour water on it, you get a lot of holes. So you use tree branch and you cluster those together, and then you pour the water over that little cluster of branches, and then the water spreads all over the acorn without disturbing it. Because when the acorn gets into on top of the sand, now we use a cloth. When cloth came in, we're using cloth. And so the acorn will show you the different ways you can cook it. The top layer is generally really smooth, and so that can be put to one side, and then the other half of it is a little bit coarser, and that goes over to one side. So now when you're going to boil the acorn, you want to cook the heavier one first. And so when you cook the heavier one first, then it'll thicken. And so you can take that and you can drop it into cold water and it gels. And then for the thin one that's on top, that becomes your soup to drink. Just like tomato soup, that texture. And of course, when salt came in, then that was it. You want to use salt with your acorn. And then some people will use, if you like hot sauce, pour that over it. Boy, the succulent tastes good. So many stories.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes.
And, the latest style of making baskets is string basket. See, that's nothing but string. And we have a big darning needle, and then you just sew it. Yeah,
Around
sew it
willow,
like
is it
that.
willow?
What is the foundation?
And the foundation is grass.
Oh.
You'll see all that grass on us coming from down up in Yosemite. Along the road, you'll see a lot of tall grass. And even out in the fields, when I was coming down, I saw a lot of tall grass. See, that'll make a good basket. So grasses and willows and bunch grass. And then if you want to go to the store and you want to buy basket fiber, there's a whole pile of it right there. I think that's what you got from the store.
This? No, that's the
Yes.
willow.
Oh, you split that.
Yeah.
Ooh, good.
No stores.
And then if you want color,
The fern roots.
What kind of bird?
okay,
Fern, bracken fern.
yeah, this is bracken fern root.
Really?
And so when you put it in iron water, it gets dark. And we have an iron spring in Yosemite. And when you go pull the root out, it's nice and dark like this. And then of course now you can stain it with the color, but see, it's wide, and then you have to take it and you have to break it and split it. See, I'll do that by hand, or you can put this through the tin can, but usually it breaks. So it's just better to use your fingers and just very gradually pull it apart. So that's a stained Brackenfern root. That's something
You said
to cut.
root? Is it the root or the stem, the bracken fern?
The root,
It is the root.
the root. Yes. Mhm.
Sedges.
And then this is another one. This is the white root called sedge root. And this is what the ladies like to use, the sedge root, because you put it in water and you can split it right in half and get nice straight strings out of it. And then if you want to, you can make it smaller too. You can cut that in 4 ways and get your very fine stitches, or put it through a tin can.
Do you use the awl to do the splitting?
You use the awl to split.
Oh, you can, yes. But what you do with the awl is you start it at the top, you poke into it and pull it apart. Then you start pulling, you break the root into 3 ways, 2 in your hand and 1 in your mouth, and you want to have nice. If you want to have stitches, you make sure that your root is almost the same from one end to the other. And then what I do is I save the little ends, and then I get the real fine stitches, and then you use that. You don't waste any of the root. You want to use it all. This one was the most challenging, and the Brackenfern root, and it's a good old tough root, and so we want to be real careful. And right now you can see how it's beginning to split a little bit. See how it's split?
When you split it,
You can see how.
do you wet it first? Do you soak
Oh,
it first?
yeah. Yeah, because this will break if you don't wet it. You gotta put it in water. And I'm careful about the kind of water I use, because like the water that comes in through the pipes, it has all that chlorine in it. And so it won't affect the basket, but the smell. It'll smell that chlorine, so you want to have good pure water, spring water.
Are the gathering sites for materials for baskets protected? Are they increasing, decreasing? Is it harder to find?
Yeah, is the materials harder to find, or are they protected, or?
Well, yeah, there's some places where the farmers say don't go in there. Not unless you go talk to the farmer, tell him what you want, they'll let you give you permission. Because it'll just say do not enter, and then I have friends who are crawling on the ground through the bushes, cutting the willows.
At night. They had with a headlamp on.
Night.
Midnight harvest.
Lucy, I have a question for you. Do you see yourself continuing with this tradition and teaching people and just letting people just remember everything that you've learned?
Yeah, I have. When I was very young, I was learned. I only could learn a certain part about it. And when my mom worked at the Yosemite Museum, I would go there because they didn't have babysitters or daycare centers. So I'd follow her to work and sit there, and she gave me something to do because I didn't know how to do the basket yet. So she gave me willows, and she says, okay, you sit there and you learn how to use the tools, the obsidian knife or a sharp knife. And then she said, this is what you have to do. Just learn how to scrape the willows down And so I sat there and I learned, and I don't know how many I did, but it was like a discipline, this is, you want to learn this, then that's what you're going to do for a little while. And then after I got really good at it, then she said, okay, now you could start doing the twine work. So that was one of the first things I did, was to twine. And so I got pretty good at that. And but for all of this, it's going to continue with me since I was a little girl, and I continue to teach my daughter, my granddaughter, and I'll continue to teach anyone who wants to learn. It doesn't matter if you're Native American or you're non, everyone is curious, and they want to know how this is all put together. And we don't feel that we're giving our ways away or anything, because we keep our secrets too. So we don't tell everything. And I am, so I'm really happy to share, because there's an interest. And when I look back at the old people, when they were doing, a lot of our relatives were doing the songs and the dances, and they had videos, these old videos I've seen out of Berkeley, and these women were, if they didn't want anyone to see this, they wouldn't have done the tapes in to talk about what they're doing. And so it's left, that's what we have left now, is to go into the museums and to look at the, the archives, and see, how they did their songs and dances, and how they made the baskets, how they were doing acorn, and it's all different with different tribes. So I feel, that I want to share this, and it's not territorial, because I know you're not going to go home and copy me how I'm going to make my basket, because we're all different people.
Yeah.
So it's just, now it's been a big time, for all of this, but finally people are realizing and wanting to understand and learn, what we've been doing here for our people have been doing for thousands of years, and now everybody wants to learn. So it's good. But the things that I learned was from, I learned all the rules, and I couldn't do anything, I learned the rules and followed them. And then when I didn't, I would rest, and then come back and do the materials, and learned how to gather, I had to learn every plant. She says, you got to go out in that field, and you got to learn and get those plants that like you. And if they don't like you, they're not going to show you. So I learned all the seasons when you gather the material, and I didn't ask any question why, what, or how. I just watched. And that's how you learn the best, by just watching. And I didn't really like to talk that much, because I was real shy. So, but now I like to talk a lot. But it will continue, and we do our workshops, and we get asked to do a lot of things, and we go, okay, we'll be there, and but when we come into new areas, we always ask permission from the people in the areas, that we, we're coming in here, we're not coming in to invade or anything, we're coming in here as a guest, and to carry on our knowledge. And so it'll go on.
No, thank you.
Do you post your workshops back home? Do you have at the museum, for example? Do you have?
No, we don't really do any social media like that. It's usually if we're gonna get, an arts center, or someone wants,
So you
to
travel more than you
yeah.
give workshops back home?
Yeah, I don't do any posting or on social media
In
and
case
stuff.
we want to do another workshop, how do we know where you might be?
Well, you could get a hold of us, and then if you get it set up, and then talk to us, and then we could come.
Or if one can go to a next workshop. some other
Yeah,
place.
we have different workshops going on, and yeah, and this is the first time we've come here, and talking with our friend Nancy. She said, well, are you sure it's gonna go? And this people are, they're looking, at my mother has done so much for the community, in the Native American community. And she's helped so many women, so many people, And her teachers were some of the oldest teachers, you know, Mabel McKay and Essie Parrish and Carrie Bethel, Minnie Mike. And I mean, there's a whole list of these ladies who are, they're not here anymore now. And my mom was a young girl and she learned and she went to them and then they taught her and they said, okay, we think you're the one to carry this on. And so she knows, she, you know, worked with all these ladies and learned all the traditions and they're all gone now. So, and which is, it's sad, but again, it's not, because look what they've left the knowledge for
Exactly.
us.
They live on through.
Yeah,
through
and we can
Julie
go,
and through you.
and we can go to the museums. I mean, we've gone to many, many museums, looking in the archives at all the baskets, and it's just amazing what came out of California, you know, from all the tribes in California, all the basketry that was made, and it's like there's different styles and techniques. And I go and I always look at the centers, like if you're looking at coiling, I look at the center of it, then I'll look at the top, and I look at the stitching and just see, you know, how it was put together. And there was traditional ways, and then there was also innovation too that came in. It's like different things, like buttons were coming in. I saw this one basket, it was a pomo style, it had a button in the middle of it, and I was going, wow, that's really cool, you know. But it was just, you know, there were things around like that that the settlers brought in, you know, buttons and safety pins and things like that, and brought in glue, you know, glue your design on or something. I think it was Ishi. He was one of the last North American Indians. He really liked glue when he was making his bows and arrows, and he used that, you know. So it's all these kind of modern things, you know, that easier, you know. So, but it'll go on, and you just feel the energy from that, you know.
Is that a good note to end this on?
Yeah, we ready to
She has a question.
I know that you guys have a really long relationship with Yosemite National Park. And, you know, I've gone into the Awani and there's baskets sitting in there and there's the Yosemite Museum. How is your relationship with the museum entities today? Like, is there any kind of movement to have the baskets not be in those places anymore, or are they really good stewards of the basket? Like, I'm curious as somebody who might go there and like give my money to the Awani or to the museum to go look at those baskets. Are they institutions worth supporting? Are they supporting you?
They're supporting us a lot, and so when we go, you know, the baskets there in the Awani, I mean, they're in cases there, and we've talked to the Awani people, and like the thing that we care about is them being taken care of, because like, you know, there's proper lighting, and you know, if they're laying in there, you know, there's certain ways you lay these baskets, and like a lot of them were not in the right shape because the gravity pulls them down, they start warping them. And so we were just, you know, telling them how to caretake, and they listened, and then I think they listened. Then I think I went back and they still didn't, everything was still kind of the same, but we try to educate the people, you know, and work with the museums, and they'll listen. So it's kind of ongoing thing. So.
Okay.
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 Thank you. All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you.